A2theK.
Coming up tonight on the Ringside Report. Several Ring of Honor talents likely to end up in AEW.
Anthony Bowens, Nyla Rose, and Riho all subject to slurs from the Long Island fans on last week's Dynamite.
Chris Jericho hospitalised during his UK Fozzy tour.
DDP gets married in a secret wedding.
Scarlett Bordeaux confirms neither her or Karrion will return to Impact.
Kurt Angle has revealed that he's going to be a playable character in an upcoming wrestling game.
Bayley hints at her WWE return.
Madusa makes some comments about women's wrestling today.
WWE changes how they pay their talent.
Former Ring of Honor and Impact star Jimmy Rave sadly passes away at the age of 39.
And Kevin Owens reportedly re-signs with WWE. And Anthony, when's all that coming up?
That's all coming up right fucking now.
Certainly is. So let's kick off and talk about potential Ring of Honor talent ending up in AEW. So obviously ROH shocked the pro wrestling world when it announced it's going to undergo somewhat of a reimagining and basically released all of its talent. So
it's a hell of a reimagining.
According to Uncle Dave, there is a likelihood of a lot of ROH talent making their way to AEW. So it includes the likes of Dragon Lee, Brody King, Bandido, and also we got to see FTR have a bit of a face-off with the Briscoe brothers as well. So also kind of potentially teased was the likes of Danhausen. But we've also got obviously Braun Strowman, who made his kind of debut, if you will, if you can call it that, at the Final Battle.
Funnily enough, took a bit of criticism.
Well.
Not him, Ring of Honor took a bit of criticism for that because no one really knows what Braun got paid, but everyone's like, well, so you're having to release talent, but you're willing to pay Braun money. Which is interesting. I can't imagine he's pulling in the millions he was getting from WWE. No offense to him.
No, I mean, I imagine he wasn't super cheap, like, to be fair, based on his his stardom. But so yeah, fair claim to kind of be a bit peeved. But yeah, interesting. Do you think, is there anyone from Ring of Honor or anyone of those that I've named then that you think might be a good fit, or conversely not so much of a good fit in AEW?
I mean, I think Danhausen probably would be a good fit for that scene, like the Orange Cassidy kind of scene. And he seems to have a good rapport with them all. He's like had a mess with MJF and Jericho at different signings, so he's definitely like, probably of the right mindset, if you will. But certain ones that I'm surprised haven't been named and probably don't need AEW per se, but you wonder where they're going to go next. Would be the likes of Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis, which again I'm not overly sure if Maria would really suit the women's division, but then she might want to come in a different capacity, in more of a interviewer or valet of some sort or manager of some sort, But I mean, there's certainly options that you go, well, I mean, it could be Impact, but I don't know. It's an interesting one. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. It's very much interesting times. I think it's very fair game for a lot of the talent in terms of where they're going to end up. So it's exciting. It should be exciting in 2022 to see how the landscape lies. Without Ring of Honor, and then when Ring of Honor comes back, like how it all unfolds. So interesting. But yeah, Danhausen in AEW I think would be a very interesting endeavour. So I'd like to see that. But obviously the Briscoe brothers teasing something with FTR, I think likely to see something there as well. So let's keep our eyes peeled on that.
Indeed. So the next one, Carl. Very unfortunate. It's not the right word. I can't find the right word because I know it doesn't represent an entire place. But the next one we need to talk about is Anthony Bowens, among others, Anthony Bowens being the most notable one we talk about because he's commented on the homophobic slurs that were uttered at AEW's Dynamite when they were in Long Island. So again, this is not reflective of Long Island as a whole, but certainly their crowd felt it necessary to make homophobic slurs towards him. Apparently they made some transphobic slurs towards Nyla Rose, and also some racial slurs towards Riho. So going for it that night for some reason. Very what's the word? Disgusting crowd, really. I don't want to generalize the whole crowd, but they certainly had some people there in the audience who just, I don't even want to say living in the wrong decade, because it was never acceptable to be a cunt. Like, no. I've said this a few. Apologies for using the language I do, but I've said this a few times that, like, the bottom line is, you have all these separate things. Like, oh, there's like homophobia and racism. Basically, don't be a cunt. Like, if it sounds like you're being a cunt, you're probably being a cunt. Just don't do it. Simple as that. Do you know what I mean? But these, no one should have to put up with this kind of shit. Everyone should be able to just sort of do what they love to do and not have to put up with negative shit from people. But Anthony Bowens being the main one we named, that's because he's responded to it on the Thursday morning. And he said, this is why I posted that photo the other day. I'll end a bit of context out in a sec. He said, stuff like this, unfortunately, still exists. Not phased. I'll just keep fighting against stuff like this till the day I die. So when he says about this is why I posted that photo the other day, he put up on his, I want to say it was his Twitter, but certainly on his social media, a photo of him kissing his, presumably his partner. And obviously, again, that took on some sort of response of people being uncomfortable with it and so on like that. And it's that's the point he's making. If you're getting shit just for being who you are, then I totally understand his reaction. Do you know what I mean? And fair play to him for sort of not fair play for reacting, if you know what I mean, but fair play for not letting it phase him, and fair play for dealing with it the way he did, because it's a rubbish thing to have to put up with. And yeah, really disappointing that the crowd were that way. I say not just with Anthony, but with Nyla and Riho as well. Just all they're trying to do is entertain people,
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. There's absolutely no place for it, and ultimately comes down to, I should say, whatever your beliefs are, ultimately comes back to just don't be a cunt. Yeah, and just there's no room for that at all. So fair play to Anthony Bowens, and fair play to the for the others for putting up with it, because there's just no need. So
indeed.
So the next piece of news to talk about. Bit of a weird one, to be honest. So Chris Jericho is over in the UK, in our neck of the woods, on his tour with Fozzy. We were actually meant to go and see him, but due to unforeseen circumstances we couldn't actually go, which we're both pretty gutted about. But while he's been over here on his tour, he was actually hospitalised. So it's meant to be a non-COVID related issue, but he's been advised that he's not going to be able to sing on the remaining events of his tour, which obviously, being a music tour, isn't necessarily ideal. So Fozzy
not great.
Well, exactly. Fozzy missed 2 of the dates, and then they did a special thing for the London show whereby they kind of did just almost like a bit of an early play of the album, but it wasn't obviously Jericho singing. It's just more of like a playing and kind of meet and greet type thing that was going on. But interesting one. I don't want to kind of, try and say what he could have been in hospital for or anything like that, but yeah, very strange that obviously he was hospitalised enough to keep him, away from touring for, at least 2 events, and then also prevent him from singing at a future one. So no idea what the outcome is and the reason behind it, but ultimately, obviously, it was very scary at the time hearing him being hospitalised. Jericho is the GOAT, and I think, we all just were wishing him the best, but he seems to be fine, seems to be okay, but not divulging too much information around his hospitalisation. So either way, hopefully he is on the mend and he's all fine, and he gets to return to wrestling and also to Fozzy very soon.
Yeah. No, I couldn't add anything any more to that, Carl. Like you say, just hopefully whatever is up, he's on the mend and he gets better soon and can resume rocking out. But unfortunate news, especially like you say when he's in the middle of a tour. So the next one, Carl, our friend Diamond Dallas Page, hopefully he lets us call him Dally, has married his girlfriend of 2 years, Paige McMahon, or now Paige squared. H squared, love it. So this one, it was a little bit of a surprise. Well, not just a little bit of a surprise for us as fans who didn't realise they were getting married, and we're all nosy buggers, so we want to know that. It was actually a surprise for Paige herself. So it was organised actually by DDP and his daughter Brittany, who rented out a hotel in Chattanooga. Yeah, I'm giving you all that information. I want to tell you so much about this, Cal. But basically organised what his partner thought was a Christmas-themed party, a red and white Christmas-themed party. So he got married on the 9th. So completely organised by DDP as a surprise for her. Absolutely made up for the pair of them. Obviously, I think they've worked together because she's also part of the whole yoga and lifestyle coaching side of things. They've been together for a couple of years now, and you know what? They seem really happy together. And yeah, what great news!
Absolutely, yeah, definitely from us at the A2theK Wrestling Show. We just wish you the best of luck and happiness for the future to the pair of you. Obviously, very much indebted to yourself, Dally, for taking the time out to be on the show and to speak with us and stuff like that. And hopefully on your honeymoon you get the chance to bang. That's all I'm gonna say.
I fucking love it.
So mad props to Dally. So moving on to the next one then. So Scarlett Bordeaux has somewhat savagely ruled out a return to Impact Wrestling. So she had, obviously they've been released, her and Karrion, earlier this year by WWE. She was asked during a signing event by KNS WrestleFest about going back to Impact Wrestling, to which she said, "We are not going back there, we're not going back there, no." She was then further prompted as to, if she would give a reason, as to why she wouldn't consider going back to Impact, but she simply just said no, but thanks for asking. So
interesting.
Yeah, obviously that's where she kind of, began to rise to somewhat of a notoriety almost within Impact, and obviously Killer Kross or Karrion Kross himself within Impact as well. So the fact that they are very much ruling that out as an option is quite interesting. So whether or not there's some burnt bridges there, or whether there's some other reason, obviously.
I don't know if there's necessarily burnt bridges there. It must be kind of weird going back to somewhere that has fundamentally changed since you were there, because they wouldn't be going back to an Impact they knew. So maybe there's an element of it that it's not worth because it would feel like almost stepping backwards, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No,
that's fair. I mean, by all accounts, Karrion's potentially got a, upcoming movie role. I think Scarlett said herself that she's got, absolutely shit ton of opportunities.
Is Scarlett going to be at the movie there to hype him up? Because otherwise, I'm a bit worried about his.
It's a very good point. But no, I mean, Scarlett's got a load of opportunities ahead of her as well. I think she's obviously basically confirmed she's doing an OnlyFans and stuff as well. So she's got a lot of stuff.
And the fans went wild.
That she's gonna be doing in the coming weeks. So maybe they're just not down for Impact right now.
That's fair. I'm sure wherever they go, they will leave an Impact.
Oh yeah.
So the next one, Carl, is our good friend Kurt Angle, who is ever the tease, put up a picture that he signed with ATW. It's not what you think, Carl. He puts in the caption that he's very happy to announce that he's going to be a playable character in an upcoming wrestling card game called All Time Wrestling, ATW. So this is a Kickstarter coming along in, I believe, April 22. And it's actually, if you're interested in the game itself, Carl, it's a card and dice game that's states that it's going to bring a fast-paced action and excitement of professional wrestling to your tabletop. So there's not a lot of detail on how the game is played or that element of it, but they do reckon it's going to be accessible to newcomers and gamers alike, into those who are familiar with that sort of tabletop environment. But it looks like it might have some legs on it as well. We're getting some legends like the likes of Kurt Angle and stuff involved in this as well.
Yeah, very interesting. Always up for trying new games out and stuff like that. So definitely one that we will keep our eyes on to see, how it goes down.
Indeed. Well done, Kurt. Proud of you.
Oh yeah, it's true. It's damn true. So the next one to talk about, Bayley has given a bit of an update on her WWE status. Obviously, she is sidelined currently with a knee injury, but she basically held a Q&A on her Instagram account recently, and she was quoted as saying that her knee is doing great, her ankle's great, her calf is great, her shin is doing great, her hip is doing great. Okay, she's just listing body parts now. But basically, she just said it's only a matter of time. She's not going to tell us when, and she doesn't want all the idiots watching to know when. But she's going to be coming back soon, and you better be ready. You better be ready. So, could it be imminent then that we get to see Bayley return to our screens? I think she also took to social media to promote the idea of a dream match involving the 4 horsewomen. She teased the potential of them coming together to face Trish Stratus, Lita, and the Bella Twins when the 4 horsewomen are back. Based on their current story arcs and stuff like that, and that doesn't seem like it's potentially got legs anytime soon. But yeah, Bayley potentially coming back
without legs, eh?
Yeah. But yeah, how do you feel about that? Do you think are you missing Bayley at the minute? Do you think she's going to come back and make an impact?
I think she is very much one of them. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Because, like, when we last saw her at WrestleMania, I assume she couldn't wrestle because she was, like, involved in that sense. She was around. And obviously, for a while now we've not seen her, and I'm kind of ready for her to be back. To be honest,
I suppose the big question is,
I never thought I'd say this, but I probably enjoy it as a heel more than I do a face anyway. Which initially I wasn't keen on, but I'm ready for it to be back. I think it'd be ace.
Well, yeah, the big question is on that point is, it's very hard for someone who's a heel to come back and be very heely. Usually, when someone comes back, as you say, the heart grows fonder and they get somewhat of a face reaction. So
that is a fair point.
When she comes back, she will be, the ding dong, hello, Bayley.
It depends, because she could rock back up and beat somebody in 23 seconds and instantly have people fucking hate her.
I mean, that is true. Like, there are ways to do it,
There are ways to do it.
Yeah, interesting, but it sounds like...
I'm not even Saki, that was the desired effect and it worked. So...
Well, yeah, it sounds like, I don't want to kind of speculate too much, but maybe day one, we may see her be involved in some way.
I think the Usos are definitely going to be involved in that too.
Yeah, I mean, they've been down since day one. So.
Of course.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting stuff. So, while we're talking about women's wrestling, and I want to talk about this. So, this is less news and more of a conversation. Apologies, because I know we're trying to do the news, but I'm intrigued because from what I'm reading, unless I'm reading something wrong here, I think a lot of the points Madusa is making in this this interview article, whichever, is fair. But the actual headline reads, and this has come from WrestlingInc.com, that Madusa plays down strides made during Women's Revolution. So I'm like, that's intriguing. So I had a read. And to be honest, I'm not sure she's specifically playing it down, and that can be open to interpretation. But she has basically referred back to, like, where wrestling was at when she was there, and everybody before the Women's Evolution did their job and played their part to get things where they are today, and basically is saying every era was an evolution, every era is a revolution, and a learning situation. And she said, like, you either liked it or you didn't, or it was good or it wasn't, but everything has ultimately gotten to the point there that you can elevate women's wrestling to what it is today. And I kind of I think we've kind of been saying that for a while now, that whilst you could argue about the 4 horsewomen and women's revolution as far as WWE goes, like, that work was put in for years before, and with the likes of you've mentioned it before, Molly Holly willing to shave her head so that women can be on WrestleMania, so the women's title can be on WrestleMania, doing what they had to do to get the recognition for women's wrestling. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm being an arsehole when I say this, but, like, they were doing it when it was so much harder to push women's wrestling. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think she's particularly wrong in what she's saying. I don't think it's downplaying what the likes of Sasha Banks and Charlotte and everyone have done for women's wrestling today. Like when we've had the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, when we've had first ever steel cage match or the first ever main event. These aren't bad things. These are great things. But like it has all. Like, when you're speaking to a woman who was wrestling in the 90s and trying to make women's wrestling a thing, of course she's going to think that the work they put in got us where we are today. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she's right to a degree as well. The thing is with women's wrestling today, especially with WWE, is do you think they've done it now? Like, they embrace women's wrestling? No, they had a women's revolution where they made it a thing for a little bit, and now it's back to almost where it was. Like, arguably, you look at your Trish Stratus and Lita like matches and stuff, that they were better back then than what's being put out today. And that's not because the talent isn't there today, but I feel like it's just they've dropped the ball with it all. So it's a weird one really, because they've laid the foundations for women's wrestling to be, in the limelight today and get the time and get their own pay-per-view and get their own matches like a Royal Rumble and stuff. But you've got to wonder whether the heart's in it today, not from the performers, but from the company.
Yeah, no, I agree. Another point she made, and I found this one very interesting because I never really considered it, and I feel bad for never considering this. And don't get me wrong, we have seen people rock up, and I'll explain it. Basically, she's saying about her theory on women's legends. She said, like, you have men in their 60s out there signing contracts and making big money and still making big money in different promotions, but you don't really get legend women.
Mm-hmm.
And she's basically saying that like these like a point, I suppose, when it's like when women get to a certain age, all of a sudden it just became ugly, and like for some reason they're like, she said, we haven't changed, but the criteria is different, so there is still an imbalance there, which is totally true. But I never really thought about it, but you're right. Like she's so right. I mean, obviously we have seen, especially with the Women's Royal Rumble stuff, we have seen people we'd call legends now, like Lita and Trish and the like, rock up at a Royal Rumble. But she's quite right. You don't, like, when you consider you're getting people like Goldberg who are signing $1 million deals for like 4 matches for WWE throughout the year. I did never do that with a woman, in all fairness.
No. I think she's absolutely right in the sense of they won't let go the kind of the fact that women wrestlers are still divas and they still have to be sexy and attractive and stuff like that. And so that's part of the problem, is that they won't bring somebody back from the women's division because of their talent and how over they are, because they no longer look the part of diva or whatever in their eyes. So she's hit the nail on the head. It is a massive problem really, because there's no reason why the likes of if she was up for it, like a Trish Stratus or somebody, could come back and have a run. Like even Mickie James, like, is a prime example of this.
If they could reconcile something, I feel like this is probably one of them things where it'll never happen. But Alundra Blaze rocking back up in WWE would still be a draw for me.
Yeah,
especially with the way she left. You know what I mean?
I would definitely want to see something with like Alundra Blaze and Charlotte Flair or something like that. Like, you could definitely see that happening. But I don't know. It's a tough one, because she's absolutely right. It's harder for women legends to come back because they don't get equal opportunities, because they were presented in such a way that like their looks took up a lot of the focus. So like, I think, and to be fair, part of it's the fans' fault. Like when certain women's wrestlers get brought back in things like the Royal Rumble and stuff, immediately they're like, oh, she still looks good, or oh god, she's aged. And it's like, you don't get that about a man coming back in the Royal Rumble. So I guess they've got some trickier things to deal with, but there's absolutely no reason why they couldn't bring back some female legends and do some cool shit. I know I'd be down for that. But Mickie James, who still looks amazing today, like she never got the time of day in WWE.
She signed a bit of a deal with WWE, and how pissed off were we with the way they were treating their matches?
Yeah, exactly.
And yet sorry to harp on about it, but like all the likes of Goldberg has to do is just rock up and go, "You're next," and then that's his match booked. There's some millions.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So yeah, she's definitely got a point, to be fair to her. So yeah, I'd quite like it to change, but whether it will remains to be seen, I think. So the next one to talk about, Anthony. So apparently the way WWE pay its talent has changed. So it's been recently reported several top WWE talents are making a few $1 million per year, with talents like Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar making over $5 million a year on their guaranteed deals. But it was also stated a lot of top talent are now making $2 million a year. And some are making $3 million a year, but there's one unnamed superstar making $4 million a year as well on their guaranteed deals. But for the other talent who aren't in the upper echelon, their pay structure has apparently changed. So for many years, WWE paid wrestlers a kind of downside guarantee. So they're guaranteed a certain salary each year for their contract, but they're able to earn more through things like pay-per-view bonuses, merchandise, and other ways, basically. But Uncle Dave has come out and said that they're not doing that anymore. So in the past, a wrestler could sign for $450K per year and then get super hot, make another $2 million based on merchandise, work at the top of the card on like pay-per-view, and get extra bonuses that way. But apparently the downside guarantee is now the total of what the talent makes, and there's no longer any bonuses for things like working more live events, for being on pay-per-views, and you know, such like. So at least for the majority of talent. So
okay, so incentives gone right out the window, boss. Yeah. I don't know. It feels like, because I know they're trying to suggest that the downside guarantee has increased as a result of it, so they're getting more guaranteed money, but they'll get nothing out of merch sales or pay-per-view sales or anything like that. It feels like a con. Like,
oh, it definitely
it's
does.
going to benefit someone, isn't it? Someone who doesn't really sell merch very well is going to get a bit of a pay bump because their guarantee might go up. But I don't know. As I understand it, most wrestlers make their money out of doing these extra shows, these extra live shows, and getting these pay-per-view bonuses. So,
but to your point, though, it's only gonna, you know, exacerbate the amount of talent who sign big fat contracts to sit there and get $1 million a year guaranteed and do fuck all. Yeah. For the people who don't want to be there.
There's no bonus to putting any effort into even sell your merch at this point.
Well, exactly. You're not going to get anything in return. So you're literally just there to sit there and collect a paycheck.
Yeah.
So
crazy. Yeah, it's an interesting approach from WWE. Be interesting to see how long that pans out.
Yeah. So yeah, next one.
So very sad news, this one, Carl. I won't linger on it too much, but obviously we mention it and offer some respects. And that's James Michael Guffey, known in professional wrestling as Jimmy Rave. Sadly died at the age of 39. So if anyone doesn't recognise the name, you know, he had a career spanning over 2 decades. He worked in NWA, TNA, he worked in Ring of Honor, he's worked with the likes of AJ Styles, he was in a tag team with Lance Archer, I think, Lance Hoyt at the time, as the Rock and Rave infection. And he's had a hell of a career, but not one of these people who has had a long career in WWE. Like he has appeared in WWE, but not like as a well-known sort of named character, if you know what I mean. But has had a hell of a career in wrestling. Unfortunately, he has for a number of years been struggling with addiction. That resulted in the actual amputation of his arm and later both of his legs. So you know, he's been through quite a lot in his life, and unfortunately, they haven't really mentioned cause of death specifically, but you know, you can draw your inferences there. But he's sadly passed away, and all we can do is sort of offer our sort of respects, really, and you know, our thoughts are with his family at this time, and it can't be an easy thing to deal with, and obviously 39 is no age at all. No. So incredibly sad news, but obviously well respected legend in the business, so it's only right that we make a mention and offer our respects.
Yeah, definitely. I think you know, by all accounts, he was very well loved and respected in the business. I know obviously there's a lot of talent who've reached out to give their sympathies. I know he was quite close with the likes of CM Punk. Mick Foley actually was, after he got his arm amputated, I think he started a GoFundMe campaign to help with his medical bills. I was doing some charity work to get him some money. I think he was like $100,000 in debt on medical bills and the like. So he definitely had some top guys vouching for him. So terribly sad news, and as you say, just thoughts with his family and his loved ones. Really, shame, terrible news.
Indeed.
And so the last one to talk about, the image hasn't pulled through, but we'll chat about it anyway. Is breaking news somewhat. Kevin Owens reportedly has re-signed with the WWE. So it was broken by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful earlier today, that basically just said that he's confirmed that Kevin Owens has re-signed, and it's said to be a multi-year deal. It's reportedly an excellent offer that they proposed for Owens to stay, and they're said to be over the moon about the fact that he has decided to re-sign with the company. So I think
they have said that he's not going to get any money for pay-per-views or merchandise.
But it's an excellent downside. But yeah, I think originally his contract was set to expire a little bit later, but he basically restructured it himself in 2019, but as a result of that meant it would end in January 2022. So they've been negotiating since kind of the end of the year, like September time. So AEW.
I just want to mention, I did say last week that it felt like he was a WWE guy.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I think as well. I think we made some kind of bet on that. So I think I owe something. Whether it's eating of a hat or something. But you're absolutely right. You called it.
I think you offered an Apple. What can I go for?
An Apple
iPad.
No, sorry.
No. That took too long. Damn it.
Cuts out. I will certainly get you an Apple. That's fine. But no. So yeah, Kevin Owens. Apparently, it was reported that AEW were very much interested, but they didn't believe that they could have matched what WWE had offered to pay in order to get him to stay. So it sounds like Owens has managed to secure himself quite a lucrative contract to remain with the company. It is WWE, however, so we know that the contracts are completely worthless. So at least in the short term,
he's safe for at least 90 days.
Yeah, in the short term, he's going to make a bit of bank, but how long that lasts for remains to be seen. So I think it's worth taking this with a pinch of salt. Obviously, Kevin Owens has resigned, but very much they could decide to just change their mind at any point and then put him on a 90-day non-compete. So kind of the downside with WWE contracts.
I love him in WWE. He's one of the better things in WWE. So I personally am glad that he's staying. I don't want everyone to jump ship. I don't want WWE to die. So people like Kevin, who are massive wrestling fans, even as kids, who have an absolute passion for the business, I'm so glad he's staying in WWE, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of my favourites in WWE. I think it's just, are they actually going to use him now, or are they just going to silence this contract and just...
Well, while Big E is champion, Kevin will be used.
Well, yeah. But yeah, no, I think, sentimentally and stuff like that, obviously watching those videos of Kevin Owens making his debut on the main roster with his son being such a big John Cena fan, and, him getting to fight him and stuff like that, like obviously as a dad, it's always so kind of nice to watch and just think, that's lovely. That
tears run down your face.
Yeah.
Your wife's like, "What's going on?" "I'm watching wrestling, damn it."
Basically, me every week. But no, so it's nice the fact that he enjoys the place enough to commit his future there. It's whether or not they decide to honour that. I guess is the.
We all quietly was hoping there'd be another festival of friendship, but.
You certainly were. I know I was. I genuinely would have preferred to see him in AEW, because I think WWE just haven't utilised him in the best way possible. So
I can see your point, because the best work he did in WWE was with Jericho.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand why you'd prefer the AEW connection, but I don't know. He feels like a WWE guy to me.
Yeah, which I get, but I also think he feels like a main eventer, which I don't think he's going to be in WWE. Which is
I mean, if Big E can do it.
Well, yeah, it's all about the the age and the look and the non-previous. You can't have made yourself anywhere else before arriving there, etc. So, but yeah, well, we'll see. I think congratulations to him, to his family as well. Hopefully, it's a really good contract. Hopefully, he stays there and he's happy. Is the ultimate thing. So
get yourselves to Disneyland. Come on.
Yeah, boy. So yeah, so that was the breaking news. Didn't even have a graphic to show you lovely people on YouTube. I did make one, but I just stuck it in
Amateur hour.
because we've been so busy. We've had too many segments to sort tonight, but that's segments. It. Another week of the A2theK Wrestling Show. Some more breaking news. Obviously, some very sad news, some very interesting news, and some very breaking news all at the same time. So once again, thank you. If you are watching this, make sure if you can't be near a screen, that you check us out on audio platforms. We are available everywhere, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google, etc., etc. If you're listening to our lovely soothing voices, come and look at our beautiful faces as well on YouTube.
And Spotify, weirdly.
And Spotify, weirdly. Yeah, we are on Spotify video now, which is, who knew that was a thing? But yeah, so until next time, make sure you follow us in all the places. Check out the A2theK if you haven't done so already, our end of season awards. And we've got some exciting things coming next week as well to look forward to. So until then, thank you. Yeah. Thank you for tuning in once again, and we will catch you on the flip side. Take it easy.
Hey guys, it's Georgia Smith here, and you've heard me on A2theK. These guys are awesome. Check it out. A2theK.
A2theK.